Okay, it's 7 o'clock and the meeting is in order. And first of all, I want to welcome everyone here. It's good to see a lot of warm bodies in here. Sometimes it get a little lonely and cool during some of these meetings. They get boring and folks got other things to do. But tonight we've got several topics of interest, and for whatever reason, it's always good to see citizens and community members with us and joining in and helping us govern this community. We're going to start off first with asking town manager to name the individual that will give us the invocation.
Yes, sir. Before we get to the invocation, I'd like to recognize House Member Mitchell Setzer that represents us here. Mitchell, if you would stand up, please. We thank you for visiting our meeting tonight. And we do speak to each other in the liquor store. But at this time, I'm going to ask Chief Watson if he will lead us in a meeting prayer.
Dear Lord God, thank you for letting us come together tonight to conduct business of the community. Please bless everyone here. Please grant those who make decisions to have wisdom and give them guidance. And watch over all of us. Help us to live for you, serve you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. We could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right, our first order of business is amending the agenda or not. And I will ask if we have any motions to amend our agenda for tonight before we proceed.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, if I may.
Yes, sir.
We have one item on the agenda, consult with an attorney. We need to remove for a personnel matter. That needs to be removed.
You want both items removed or just the personnel?
At this time, we'll leave it up to you all. Once Councilman Jarozinski is seated, I think it's more appropriate that we have a meeting at a later date with all that we have going on this evening. I think it's appropriate to dismiss both, yes, sir. And then we'll have a special meeting of council to discuss the legal matter that Councilman Jarozinski would need to be involved with.
Any other proposed amendments to our agenda tonight? All righty then. I will ask for a motion to adopt the agenda tonight as amended with the two closed session items removed. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
We have first and second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously. All right, we will now move on. Let's see here. To our presentation and recognition, items number 3. Now we'll turn it over to our town manager.
Let's do the consent first.
Excuse me?
Do the consent agenda first, please.
Okay, you want to go ahead and read through it?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. On the
All right.
consent agenda, just for all those in attendance, those that may be observing online, these are matters that we discussed at length at our agenda briefing. They are considered to be normal housekeeping matters. Others that may not be recognized as such by the general public were discussed at length before council on Monday's agenda briefing. Item number 1 is approval agenda briefing minutes from November 6th. Item number 2 is approval of closed session minutes of November 6th. Excuse me. Item number 3 is approval of closed session minutes of November 9th. Number 4, approval of Resolution 3923 titled Resolution Recognizing the Distinguished Service of George W. Harris. Number 5, approval of Resolution 4223 titled Resolution in Memory of Kenneth Alvin Reed. Number 6, approval of Resolution 43-23 titled Resolution of Recognition for Outstanding Service and Entertainment as Radio Host for the Home Ad Show on WSIC for James, but we all call him Pat Shannon, upon his retirement. Number 7, approval of the town Troutman Parks and Recreation 2024 event schedule. Number 8, approval of incinerator use interlocal agreement between the town of Troutman, city of Statesville, and the town of Mooresville. Number 9, approval of a fee in lieu of sidewalk for the O'Reilly Auto Parts, which will be located at 165 Julian Place. Number 10, annexation request, non-contiguous, applicant BBC Rocky Creek LLC, 19.511 acres. This sets a public hearing date of January 11th, 2024. That would be all for the consent.
All right, thank you, sir. We'll move next to item 3. Well, let me have a motion to adopt the consent agenda, please.
I'll make, go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
All right, do I have a second to that first?
Second.
All right, I have a first and a second. Any discussion? All right, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of the consent agenda as presented tonight, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's adopted unanimously. All right, so we will now move on to item number 3, presentations and recognitions. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Item number 11 is recognition of our Employee of the Month for November. Unfortunately, due to some of the work schedules, and one of the reasons why this employee has been recognized as the Employee of the Month, Sergeant Cameron Jones is having to be at another venue in a police direct related activity, and the chief and I would like to officially recognize him next month with the December Employee of the Month, if that is okay with you all, as he could not be here because of duty. And then number 12 is introduction of Troutman Police Department K-9 units. Folks, I'm going to turn this over to the police chief. These are working police dogs that he's getting ready to introduce you to.
Police K-9 teams are made up of 2 individuals, the handler and their K-9 partner. Our handlers are experienced and highly trained officers who were selected through a process involving physical testing and interviews. They attended a handler training course at Ventosa Kennel in Scotland County, North Carolina, where they stayed for 6 weeks, training all day and evening with their partners. The patrol K-9s are trained in narcotics detection, tracking, apprehension, and handler protection. We're really excited to have K-9 teams on duty and believe that they're going to be a valuable asset for the department and the community. And I want to take this time to introduce each one to the council. This is Sergeant Daniel Bova. He's a patrol supervisor with the department, and his K-9 is named Luca. Say hi, Luca. This is Officer Ashley Parker. She's a patrol officer with the department, and her K-9 is named Scar. I want to thank both of you guys for the time you took away from your families for the training to become handlers. One of these people has a very young child, and the other left for training within a couple weeks of getting married. And so they made a lot of sacrifices and showed their dedication to their profession and the department. And I'm very, very proud to have employees that will go above and beyond for that. And there's their dogs. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, council, and those in attendance. Number 13, also Police Chief Watson has some presentations for officers that have received awards.
The Troutman Police Department. There's an insect that decided to jump down. The Town of Troutman Police Department's policy and procedure authorizes officers to receive awards for certain actions if they meet the criteria. One of these awards is the Award for Meritorious Service. The criteria for this award is that a member of the department must have achieved an accomplishment where danger to the officer existed or where death, serious injury, or extreme tragedy to other parties is prevented. I'm going to summarize the citation. On September 22nd, 2023 at 9:04 a.m., Sergeant Binge and Officer Miller responded to a dispatch report of an armed robbery at Truist Bank. The suspect, who was armed, had fled the bank on foot. Officer Miller arrived within moments, locating the suspect and began engaging in a foot pursuit of him. The suspect's path of flight was leading him to an elementary school, and there were young students on a playground as the suspect was approaching. The school was attempting a lockdown, trying to gather these very young children to get back in the school. Sergeant Benj was a supervisor on duty, and he had arrived quickly. Him and Officer Miller coordinated their actions and were able to apprehend the suspect at the edge of the school campus, thereby preventing possible life-threatening harm to students and staff, as we do not know what the suspect would have done if he continued on his path. Their diligence and devotion to duty were in keeping with the highest traditions of law enforcement and reflect great credit upon themselves and the Troutman Police Department. I would now like to present the award for meritorious service to both of them. Sergeant Benj. And Officer Miller. You guys want to stay here and get pictures with the council?
We're just taking a brief moment to get some new persons in while some of the family of the officers exit the facility. If you all will give us just a minute or two. Right there, dear, is fine. Come on in, gentlemen. Have a seat on the front row. Thank you very much. Thank you all very much for your patience. At this time, we're going to item number 14. I'm going to turn it over to our Finance Director, Justin Mundy, presentation of the Town of Troutman's 2022-2023 budget year audit.
Yeah, if Alan wants to come on up. Alan Thompson with Thompson, Price, Scott, and Adams will be doing the presentation tonight.
You should have in front of you a presentation summary, which is the smaller book. If you'd be kind enough to flip over to page 1. The main reason you hire an outside independent audit firm is to issue an opinion on the financial statements as a whole. We issued an unmodified report or a quote-unquote clean report. There are a few things I need to run through with you if you'd be kind enough to go through that with me on these first 3 paragraphs under qualitative aspects. Accounting policies, accounting estimates, and financial statement disclosures. We were all good with all of those. We had no difficulties encountered in performing the audit. On page 2, there were no uncorrected misstatements, no disagreements with management. Management did provide us with a representation letter dated December 1st. We're unaware that management consulted outside accountants, auditors, etc. And again, the other good thing everybody likes to hear is there were no findings, etc. And in this year, the LGC started a new process. It kind of began a little bit last year, but in full force this year. They have something called a financial performance indicator of concern, and you had none of those either. So in addition to no findings, a clean report, there were no financial matters for concern from the LGC. So that's all good news. On page 4, I don't say these are all the key numbers in the audit report, but these are definitely some of the key numbers in the audit report. And what we attempt to do is to put that in this first column, and then to the right are the 4 prior years' numbers. so that you get to see a number, not just in space, but in context as well, if you will. So you can see fund balance there at $5,342,471. If you were to go back to 2019, you see that number is $2,143,000. Unavailable fund balance is $931,000. Restricted and assigned is $138,000. Total general fund expenditures, including transfers, is $8,148,000. And then total fund balance as a percentage of general fund expenditures is 65.56. Available fund balance is $4,272,000, and then available fund balance as a percentage is 52.43%. That 52.43%, if you ever go out for debt, that's the number the LGC or State Treasurer Debt Committee takes a harder look. So that's a really good number, even though because of some expenditures and projects you had, it looks like the percentage dropped, even though fund balance went up. It's still a strong percentage. Revenues over and under expenses before transfers. The general fund is $969,000. Capital projects was a negative $289,000, and water sewer was $2,607,000 positive. You see your total fixed assets there at $24 million in the water sewer fund with accumulated depreciation of almost $10 million, and cash there at $4,129,000. Cash in your general fund is $4,684,000. If you go back to 19, you can see that number is $1,985,000. Cash in your capital projects funds is $692,000, and again, cash in your water sewer is $4,129,000. Already talked about fund balance in general fund. Fund balance in capital projects is $435,000, and fund balance in your water sewer is $19,297,000. You see your property tax there was the same across all 5 years. Collection percentage is above 98% at 98.45%. And then you see total property valuation and levy amounts there. Valuation increasing significantly over the 5 years shown there from $464 million to $801 million. I'm not going to read all the numbers in the general fund revenue by department, but the total $8,626,000, and breakdown of your general fund expenditures again is $7,657,000. On page 5, you can see in a bar chart there total fund balance in blue. It's a nice progression there. And on the bottom, you see the fund balance as a percent there. You can see the town of Troutman. The dip is because of the increase in general fund expenditures, not because fund balance went down. And the same thing is true on the top of page 6. We had a little dip there. It's because of some projects and increased your total expenditures there. So it wasn't necessarily a negative, even though your percentage did decline. On the bottom of that same page, you can see revenues over and under expenditures before transfers, with your water sewer being very strong. Capital projects had a little dip because of the status of the projects, and general fund again was very strong. Page 7, you can see your water sewer charts there at the top, and then on the bottom you see pie charts for the cash balances and fund balances with the respective numbers underneath that. Total cash at $9,506,000 and total fund balance at $25,075,000. On page 8, you see property tax rates with a group weighted average. Group weighted average has kind of gone away a little bit at the LGC because they made the groups everybody above $100 million in budget and everybody below, so it has the comparison there is just not as good as it used to be. On the bottom, you see collection percentages with group weighted average and statewide average as well. So it's 98% is a strong collection rate. On page 9, the reason everybody talks about collection percentage is because you see 48.23% of the total revenue in general fund comes from ad valorem taxes. Sales tax being the next biggest one there. And then on the bottom you see where general government, public safety, and public works are your 3 biggest expenditure departments. Again, it's my pleasure, our firm's pleasure to do the audit. The 3 things, if you wanted to take away, would be unmodified or quote-unquote clean report, no findings, and no matters of concern from the formulas that the LGC puts out. So congratulations to you as a board, the finance department, management. So happy to answer any questions, not just tonight, anytime you want to call the office. If I'm not there, tell them, give you my cell number and track me down. I'll get you an answer to your question.
Anybody on the council up here would like to ask a question?
I have a question. Just on page 8.
Yes, sir.
No, I understand your reasoning behind why group weighted average is kind of, doesn't tell us what it used to, right? But is that the same, if you look at the bottom half of that page on statewide average? I noticed that those data points stop after 21 as well.
The statewide average wasn't published all the way through, so that's why it stopped. But the statewide average runs over 99% on collection. It's skewed by some of the larger municipalities and some of the smaller ones that are in, like we've got a town at the beach that's 100%. So when I see this and you're where you're at, it's a good collection percentage.
Okay, okay. That was just for both property tax and for the collection percentage. I just wondering, like, it looks like I have no concept of what you do, right, outside of being able to interpret the numbers, right? But it looks like it's been 2 years. Is there any other type of comparison or any other kind of numbers that we can look at to be sure that we're on the track and maybe following the same trends as our neighbors or, across the state?
I will put together something and email it to your finance officer so that he can forward that to you. How about that?
That would be great. I just didn't know as like you were referencing the LGC. It looks like they created a hole in their data set. I'm just wondering if they have any plans on filling that hole. I can understand you can do it, and that's that's wonderful.
Not that
you
I'm
would do
aware
that
of.
for us,
And I think they're struggling like some of the other state departments. From what I understand, they're short of staff, so that's just wasn't a major emphasis for them. So they kind of cut it out or made it easy over and above 100 million.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Just,
Yes, sir.
just curious
Understand.
about that.
Good
So
luck
thank
with the LGC.
Yes,
And if I may, Councilman Oxer, also just for the public's consumption that may not be as astute as you in your questions and our auditor, the county does our collections. The town does not participate in collections. The county does all the collections for all municipalities within Iredell County with an agreement that we have. So it's not something that the town is or is not doing in that realm. And I will say with the tax collector for Iredell County, Bill Furchess, they are, if people get behind, they do rectify it fairly quickly and accurately legally.
Good. Thank you. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Merry Christmas.
There's no questions on that. We will then move in. Mr. Reed's family was able to get in and sit down. We have recognition in memory of Kenneth Reed, a dear friend to many of us, but also a planning and zoning board member for us for numerous years that has passed away recently.
All right, let me just go ahead and read the resolutions. This is Resolution 4223, resolution in memory of Kenneth Alvin Reed. Whereas the Town Council of the Town of Troutman wishes to record their deep sorrow over the passing of Kenneth Alvin Reed Troutman on November 27, 2023, and whereas Kenneth Reed, loving husband, father, grandfather, brother, uncle, and friend, was born in Iredell County and a longtime resident of the town of Troutman, and whereas Kenneth Reed was a graduate of Unity High School, a veteran of the United States Air Force, and a very dedicated and active member of Covenant Cathedral, where he served as usher, worship leader, minister, and elder, and whereas the Troutman Town Council is grateful for his past leadership, knowledge, and contributions to the town, serving on the Town of Troutman Planning Board from year 2015 to the present. Now, therefore, in recognition of Kenneth Alvin Reed's contributions to the Town of Troutman and the surrounding community, I, the Mayor, T. Ross W. Young, Jr., Mayor of the Town of Troutman, along with the Troutman Town Council and town citizens, hereby express our deepest appreciation of his service and extend to his family our sincere sympathy upon his passing. Adopted this day, 14th day of December, year 2023.
Thank you. If you all would step up.
Yes.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want you to know I knew Kenneth when I retired and got back in town government after about 12 years absence. Kenneth was one of the first gentlemen I got to know when I was appointed to my first committee again. Starting the first time I started from the council and never did a committee, and this time I started from the committee and worked up to council again. So, but I did with Kenneth, and he was an amazing man. A wonderful personality, a good friend. I enjoyed talking to him. I enjoyed serving. He was an intelligent man, very capable, and I'm honored and was honored at the time and continue to be honored to have served with him on the committee and to know him and call him a friend.
Well, he enjoyed working with the planning board and the zoning board, whatever position he was in. He enjoyed that because he always said, I gotta go to the town meeting. I said, how long you gonna be gone? And he never could say.
He's an honest man.
Well,
But I know he enjoyed what he did for the town council.
Thank you all. If you will, turn around. The press is asking to take your pictures if you're okay with that. Thank you very much. And just so you all know, we'd like for you to stay at one of those meetings, just like Kenneth said, we don't know when it'll end. You're welcome to leave if you all would prefer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can put it back over. The next item on the agenda for presentations recognition is the recognition of Patrick or Pat Shannon, as most of us know him. Unfortunately, Mr. Shannon got here early and left, but we do have a co-worker, Brian Summers, is here. If you would like to read it out for those that are on the internet and may be watching us and those in attendance, Brian will accept on Pat's behalf. And for all of you that listen to WSIC in the mornings traveling up and down the road, you certainly heard his voice over the years. And I'll turn it over to you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, thank you, sir. Righty, as a resolution in honor of Pat Shannon, Resolution 43-23. Resolution of recognition for outstanding service and entertainment as radio host of the home and ad show on WSIC for James Patrick Pat Shannon upon his retirement. Whereas Mr. Pat Shannon, born in Monroe, has been a citizen of Iredell County since 1952, where he attended Harmony High School, Troutman High School, and Mitchell College. And whereas Mr. Shannon worked several different jobs during his high school years, including DJ at WSIC Radio in Statesville, before joining the United States Air Force in 1962, where his career began broadcasting in the Air Force on radio and television in Taiwan, Vietnam, the Azores, Germany, Iran, Korea, and Guam, followed by 2 tours as a broadcaster at Pope Air Force Base before retiring from the Air Force in 1965. And whereas Mr. Shannon returned to WSIC until re-enlisting in 1966, serving time recruiting for the Air Force before returning 20 years later to WSIC and WFMX, serving as manager from 1986 through 1988 before returning to the air at WSIC in 1988, holding that position to date. And now, wherefore be it resolved that the town of Troutman employees and citizens wish to convey their best wishes in retirement to Pat Shannon and express their sincere thanks and appreciation for his hard work, dedication, and impact he has made to the community over the last 6 decades in his broadcasting career at WSIC. Adopted this 14th day of December, year 2023.
Thank you.
Well, as you all can see, I'm not Pat. He has much better hair than I do. But I will convey from Pat and his wife Sasha, Pat has such affinity for the town of Troutman, as he calls it home, and being a graduate of Troutman High School, which I didn't even know existed in 1961, but spending time with him at WSIC, it is such an honor, such a great man and a friend, and I'm proud to call him friend. He is, I call him the voice of Iredell County, for he has done the birthday show and the home match show here for well over 40 years. And we thank you on behalf of the town council, which he calls home, and thank you so very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. All right, so I guess we're ready to move on to old business.
If it's okay, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, as we have our Representative Mitchell Setzer here, would like to give him an opportunity to talk. We'd love to drag him out to an unknown end and meeting night, but he, being an elected official, has other commitments. If he would like to address the board with any news or updates, we certainly did not get to thank him for the $14 million that he was so gracious with our other representatives from Iredell County to make sure that we got.
By all means, by all means.
Lord knows if you give an elected official the floor, they generally don't get it back. But as a life member, like I said, of the United Methodist Church now, we're only used to one long length of sermon a week. But the good news from Raleigh is the General Assembly is adjourned, and the state is so much safer. But I will tell you all, if I can ever be any help to you, please don't hesitate to call me. I'll give you my cell number. It's 828-999-0216. And if there's ever anything that comes up that I can be of assistance to you, please don't hesitate to shout at me. And like the ladies that used to be over Cultural Resources used to say, blessed are the brief, for they shall be invited again. Y'all have been. Thank y'all for having me. And it's an honor to be here.
Thank you, Pat.
Well, just to add to our town manager's comments, thank you very much for what you and the other representatives for our area were able to do for the town of Troutman, and that all of it will be spent taking care of infrastructure, and it will be no time before it's gone, but it will go for a good reason, a good purpose, update things that have been in the ground since 1925, which was the start of the water system in Troutman, and the sewer system in 1965. And a lot of things there need to be updated, and of course, continual additions as well. So we do appreciate that. Thank you very much, and we're glad to have you with us tonight, sir.
I'd like to say,
Yes, sir.
1965 was the year I was born, so I know how old that is. And decrepit that could be at times.
I did not mean to compare that with our sewer system. I beg your pardon. All right, sir. Okay, we're into new business, and we are getting ready to go into an issue of annexation, and I will turn it over to our planning, excuse me, I apologize, I'm getting ready to skip an item here, old business. Thank you, sir. Item number 4, consideration of infrastructure reimbursement, and I will turn this over to our town manager.
We began discussing this last month due to both sides trying to make sure that the document was prepared and that it was here before you all to consider. There wound up being some confusion that was not intentional on anyone's part. It was suggested by you all and our attorney and the applicant themselves that we postpone it to this month to give everybody time to make sure that that agreement was satisfactory to both sides. Our town attorney has reviewed it. Our engineer has reviewed it. We've all made the appropriate recommendations of what needs to be there. The applicant also agreed, and it is a good document in its form. Be glad to answer any questions. The applicant is here with several partner members if you all have any specific questions.
Anybody have any questions? town manager, or the applicant? Or our town attorney, for that matter.
I have one more of a bookkeeping thing, right? So
Sure.
safe to assume that it's brought to us in this fashion, that was a long, lengthy process to get this one passed. I assume that there's been no changes or amendments to the agreements that we came to last year.
That is correct.
All right.
Excuse me, and a couple items that was in this agreement was took out because that other agreement existed.
Sure.
Absolutely correct.
Just wanted to be sure that, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? All right, sir, then, I presume we need to take a vote tonight, do we not?
Yes, sir.
Have a motion, to consider an infrastructure, reimbursement agreement between the town of Troutman, BBC Wakefield LLC. Do I have a motion to do so?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
All right, I have a first motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and a second, any discussion? All right, hearing no, call for discussion, I will call for the vote. All those in favor of the, infrastructure reimbursement agreement as presented to us tonight, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is passed or, passed, consider, unanimously. I'll get it out in a minute. And our next, thank you. Our next order of business is new business, item number 5, into annexation. I got a little ahead of myself a while ago. And I will now turn this over to Lynn Hare, our planning director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. This first item on our new business agenda this evening is a request for annexation.
You need to open the public hearing. Open the public hearing.
I thought it was after her,
Right,
she
you go
spoke.
ahead. She would be a part of the public hearing.
Very good, sir. Thank you. Thank you. All right, I will now open the public hearing concerning this matter of annexation, non-contiguous, of the Sunbeam Estates on Highway 21 off Main Street. And we'll start off with letting our planning director, Ms. Harris, speak.
This is a voluntary annexation request. The property is roughly 36.86 acres in size. The applicant is Sandra Tilton on behalf of Sunbeam Estates LLC, which is the property owner. The property has 3 separate addresses just because there is a road on the property and there's 3 different structures. The properties are 116, 140, and 165 Royal Oaks Drive. This is a non-contiguous annexation, and staff is recommending approval of this request. There is a rezoning that will be heard with as a part of this annexation. That's the next item on your agenda.
Okay, and I think our next order would be to give our applicant time to speak. They'd like to address the council.
Good evening, council members. My name is Alex Bonda with Prestige. I think by time will probably be better served for the rezoning presentation, but I can go over really quickly what's being proposed as part of this annexation. Proposing 118 home sites for a single-family residential subdivision. And again, I've got a small presentation for the next step that I'm happy to share. Thank you.
Any questions for the applicant? Okay.
I have a question for the staff. I don't know why I just now saw this, right? But on I would like to make a formal request that we move into the HD age. I cannot read that. Is that US 21?
It is, yes.
Okay.
This is 21 right here.
Okay, yes, so,
Correct.
on the following US 21, on the northern border, there's a cutout there?
Right here?
Yes.
Yes.
Is this already in the town?
That is not, no, sir. They are not part of the request.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I just didn't know the current status of that track. All right, thank you.
We'll now move on to the public phase. The folks that have signed up to speak on this matter of annexation of the Sunbeam Estate is so far presented. This is your time to speak. I'm glad to hear you. All right. And before I close the public meeting, anything else from the council, the staff, or the applicant? All right, hearing none, then I will close the public meeting, and we will move into the discussion phase, or I'll call for a vote.
Motion.
Excuse me? Oh, no, well, if nobody, well, I'll call, yeah, call for the motion and then the vote.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the annexation request, 36.86 acres, PIN number 47415050002, 116, 140, 165 Royal Oaks Drive.
We've heard the motion. Do I have a second?
Second, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
We have first, a second. Any discussion before I call for the vote? All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. All right, hearing none, motion is passed unanimously. Said property is annexed into the town of Troutman. We'll now move on to item number 19, rezoning request to the same property, approximately 36 acres of the Sunbeam Estates. And at this point, Gary, I don't believe I did close the public meeting, did I not? Yes. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure I did. All right, item number 19, I will open the public hearing concerning the rezoning of the said property, same property, and ask Ms. Hare to address that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. This is the rezoning portion of the annexation that we just adopted. The applicant on the rezoning is Alex Bonda on behalf of Prestige Acquisitions, LLC. The property owners are Sunbeam Estates. The current zoning on this property is Iredell County RA, which is residential agriculture. What the applicant is requesting at the property is that the property be rezoned to the town of Troutman CZRM, which is conditional mixed residential. The proposed use of this property is 118 lot single-family residential subdivision. Again, the property that is in question is 36 acres. That number there is incorrect. We had a little bit of a question at the planning board. That's my fault. I did not make that change, but it is 36 acres total. Again, the location is off of Highway 21. Just to kind of give everybody their bearings, this right here is, I always get these confused, but I believe this is Houston Road and Highway 21. This here will be the Troutman Logistics site, and then we have the Rocky Creek development to the south here, which was approved a year or so ago. This is a copy of our current zoning map. Everything in white here is in the county. This pink area is zone CZRM. This is Rocky Creek, which is a development that was approved by council, I believe, in late 2021. As I stated previously, across the road is the Troutman Logistics site, which is conditional heavy industrial. And then at the corner here, you have some HB where there's some apartments currently under construction. This is our land use map. This is a tool that staff uses to make recommendations on rezoning requests. Our land use map is just a guide, and we typically look at this and to see if what's being proposed matches the map that was adopted by the planning board and the council. In this situation, the land use on this site is medium density residential, which is 2 to 3 units per acre. When we redid this map last fall, I believe it was in October of 2022, I think you all adopted it in December. The committee that served to assign the land use to properties decided to also change the definitions. That's when we went to 2 to 3 units on medium density, and we also assigned zoning classifications of RS and RT. This is the concept plan that the applicant has submitted as part of this request. As you are familiar, conditional zonings do require a concept plan. There's 118 lots being proposed. There's a density here of about 3.2, 3.4 units per acre. They have met the 10% open space requirement, which is part of our Unified Development Ordinance. Another thing that we require in our UDO is connectivity. This is something that's very important to the town. When we have new developments, we really want to encourage that there's that connectivity so that people will have other ways to get through Troutman than just on Highway 21. This particular project will have 3 separate connections. One will be to the first phase of Rocky Creek, which I believe they're now calling Norman Creek. Then there's a second phase of that Norman Creek development in this location, which they'll also be connecting to. This site right here will be the Tractor Supply that's currently, you'll probably start seeing some dirt moving on that site fairly soon. They're also providing a connection to some of the commercial out parcels on that property. So there will be quite a bit of connectivity going on. We also check these sites for watershed and requirements. This particular property is in the protected watershed, which means approval of a high-density development permit will be required. We have been doing this through the conditional zoning process. We've included it as part of the staff report and application. So if this is approved, that high-density permit will be approved as well. And what that requires is that they do provide on-site stormwater measures, which they are showing on their site plan. A development of this size or ordinance also requires a TIA, or a traffic impact analysis. The applicant has provided that. The planning board also suggested or conditioned their recommendation that this study be presented to you all. That has been done. That was forwarded to you, the recommendations in your packet, and the staff forwarded the entire study to you as well. We also have a hard copy here this evening if anyone is interested. The recommendations are there for you to see. I'm going to let the applicant discuss those with you. We won't go into great detail, but there are some slight recommendations, nothing major, but just some turn lanes in and out of the site. The planning board did hear this at their last meeting in November. They did recommend approval. However, they did have some additional conditions in addition to the ones that the applicant is recommending. One is that this traffic impact analysis be presented to you all this evening. The applicant did agree to that, and he has complied. You all had that information. They were also requesting that the applicant reduce the total number of lots to 104. The applicant does not agree with that condition. The third one was architectural. They wanted there to be some additional architectural standards applied. One being that 90% of the homes would have 2-car garages with a 3-foot setback from the front of the house. The applicant does agree to the 90% 2-car garages, but not to the 3-foot setback. The planning board also wanted to make sure that there were shutters on the front of the house. The applicant has also agreed to that. They were also looking to see that there would be covered front entries. The applicant does not agree to this due to housing affordability. Again, I'll let them discuss this more with you in their presentation. And then the planning board wanted to see that the water table on the house was covered in some type of material such as brick or stone, and not be left bare concrete. The applicant has agreed to this on the front of the house only. Staff reviewed this request, and as I stated, we do compare this to our land use plan. Staff is recommending approval. We feel that the density that is being suggested is slightly higher than the 3 units per acre, but very close. Another thing we looked at is what are the adjoining properties going to be developed for? Recent rezonings in the area of Norman Creek, phase 1 and 2, are at a density of 2.8 in phase 2, and then almost 5 in phase 1. So we feel like the proposal is consistent with the land use pattern of the area. This is complete staff recommendation. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. The applicant is here as well and has a presentation for you also.
Do I have any questions for Ms. Arrow?
Not at the moment.
We'll move on to the applicant phase of the public hearing.
Thank you. Alex Bonda again with Prestige Acquisitions. My presentation is basically an abbreviated version of what Lynn just did, so I'll be quick. So just showing context of where the site lays on Highway 21, north of Tractor Supply and our Norman Creek subdivision. Looking a little weird. Yeah, I'm just going to skip these because you already went over those. So again, what's being proposed are 118 single-family home sites on this property. Like Lynn had stated, multiple connections to our our Norman Creek development here and here, as well as a connection to the Tractor Supply that's just south of the property. Something else that wasn't brought up, our Norman Creek project also has a stub connection about in this area here, so it would continue through the Tractor Supply all the way to this this proposed community. As far as having a similar pattern to what's been approved with Tractor Supply in Norman Creek, there would also be a commercial outparcel along Highway 21 to match what's in front of Tractor Supply in Norman Creek. Proposing 25-foot perimeter buffers alongside the Tractor Supply property, and then this property right here, and then everywhere else we're proposing 50-foot perimeter buffers, which are double the required width. These areas here are stormwater measures, which are required for stormwater control, just to capture any runoff. The roads would be public, sidewalk on both sides for pedestrian connectivity, which would also connect into the future subdivision, Norman Creek. There's some small pocket park areas sprinkled throughout the subdivision. Those would be passive areas with bench seating and enhanced landscaping. Something I wanted to show just to help, and this is a crude piecemeal plan here, but just showing the previously approved Norman Creek Phase 1 here, Phase 2, which was at the time the Crayjack property, which connects here across this creek, and then our stub connections would line up with these stubs and connect to create that full connectivity throughout, including the Tractor Supply, these 4 developments. As Lynn had mentioned in her presentation, we did provide a draft TIA and recommendations. One of the recommendations as part of this development is to install a 100-foot northbound left turn lane from 21 into our main access here. Additionally, there was a 225-foot right turn lane out of Flower House Loop. That's an existing project, NCDOT's R5711, and that would be a project that we would contribute funds towards for the construction of that turn lane. That's pretty much my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions about the layout or the homes themselves.
I have 3 questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, it's the same question. So there were 3 things that the planning board had suggested, and you all said that you would not do them. Could you explain reducing to the 104? I think the 3-foot setback you said, and also was the covered front entry, I think?
Sure.
Those 3, can you explain to us?
Yeah, sure. So we would prefer to move forward with 118 home sites. The viability of the project it does not work for us, the reduced number. The property is located just adjacent to Norman Creek, which is a higher density, as well as a Tractor Supply, which will have a decent bit of traffic. And as part of that, we felt that this density was in line with that pattern. As far as the 3-foot setback for the home product, these homes, the lot widths are 44 feet wide, 7-foot side yards, so it would be a 30-foot wide home product. All new home builders do not have a a home type that has a garage setback from the front facade at that width. It makes it really difficult. You have a 20-foot wide garage, and then you have just another 10 feet for your front entry. So it makes it very difficult to set that garage back. And then the covered front entry, our builder partners we're a little concerned about this request. Overhangs and coverings they're major structural changes. Some of our builder partners don't have home types with these features. And in order to reduce construction costs and in turn provide more affordable homes to home buyers, we are requesting not to be able to put front covered entries on the homes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You said you consulted with your building partners.
Yes, sir.
At P&Z, you had not yet selected a builder. Have you selected a builder since then?
No, but we have a handful of trusted builder partners that we sell to.
Okay. Okay. So, and you mentioned the affordability. So, do you have a price range for what these homes?
Likely would at current market, we're looking at about low to mid threes starting price.
Threes. Do you have an expected completion date?
For the let's see, assuming approval and going through construction documents.
When do you expect to start requesting, occupancy?
Likely that would be.
I'm not holding you to it. I just want to get a feel.
I'm thinking through our schedules. I mean, likely the first home probably would not be built until 2026. And then it's a 1.5 to 2 year takedown and build out.
Okay. Was the suggested changes on the TIA? You mentioned basically what I've been saying, contributing to the pot for what we've got going on in that part of town as far as 21 improvements go. Is that the only? Maybe this is more for staff, right? But is that the only area? Is that the only intersection that's affected by what all's going on in this section of 21? Because I know you said you wanted it said you're going to need a 100-foot right turn or 100-foot left. It looks like to me.
Yes.
Right, 100-foot left turn right into the site off of 21.
Yes. So we would need to build that.
Right.
That
so
left turn.
Okay. So that wouldn't impact any of DOT's plans for that section, or just the let's not build it twice thing we've been dealing with for a while now. So.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Right.
It definitely will have an impact. But if DOT continues with what we have with this builder in the other two phases and with the TPA project, the idea is to collect the funds from all of those projects that are proposed in that area and build it one time and be done.
Right. Right. So that's the thing. I know that was, specifically mentioned about Flower House Loop. I just didn't know if the others that don't fall into that category, or is this something that would just be on there?
It would fall in that category. At this point, TPA has not moved forward on their part.
Right.
But yes, to your question.
Okay.
Either one, manager or Lynn, on Flower House Loop, Dot always has that down and scheduled for what, 2025?
I believe 2024.
2024,
Yes.
so a little bit sooner then,
Correct.
okay. Do you mind just addressing that very quickly in regard to Jerry's question or concern that these all are coordinated and so forth, because this is active as these others are coming. This is something that is foreseeable.
Well, there are a lot of improvements that are going to be taking place at this intersection. Flower House, the realignment of Flower House in Houston. It is a funded project. It'll be funded by NCDOT. It's scheduled to start next year. These improvements in this TIA will have to be reviewed by NCDOT. So anything that this is showing, they have to be on board with it. If they see a conflict, it will be handled, as the manager said, either by a contribution by the developer to the town, so that we can give those monies to that project specifically. But that is how that will be handled going forward.
That'll be over and above what DOT already has scheduled to be funded.
That's
for that
correct.
project.
Yes.
Okay, that was sort of what I was getting. Okay, thank you.
And you've agreed to those conditions?
We will agree to their
Yes.
They have to by statute.
Right.
Anyone else? All right, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will now open the floor to anyone public like to speak to this particular issue. All right, not seeing anyone move, I'm going to assume that we have no one that wants to speak from the public on this particular issue, and I will now call for a discussion among council members before I call for a motion. And hearing none, then I will call for a motion to recommend approval of rezoning case number CZ RM 23-03 as presented.
Need to close the public hearing.
Thank you very much. I remembered last time, forgot this one. I have closed the public hearing. Right now, I will call for a motion concerning recommended approval of rezoning case number CZ RM 2303 as presented. Do I have a motion? All right, well,
I'll make the motion that we,
all right,
yeah, I'll make the motion we accept as presented.
I will second that motion.
Mr. Mayor, I assume they already have the conditions,
Yes, they're in their packet and they're in the ordinance. That is correct.
and the motion needs to contain a provision that one of the conditions is that the applicant sign a consent form to the condition,
Which we have a copy
which,
of.
yeah, Lynn has.
All right, if we would please.
So if we already have it in hand, we still need to request it?
It needs to be part of the motion, yes.
All right, so I make a motion that we present, or that we approve as presented with said conditions and as well as the applicant signing a form of consent to said conditions.
All right, motion's amended. All right, and I will consent to that amended motion and second it once again. All right, any discussion before I call for the vote? Hearing none, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of this rezoning motion, please say aye.
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 All right, those opposed? All right, the motion for case number CZRM 23-03 rezoning has been passed unanimously, and we will now move to the motion regarding consistency statement. Would someone please read that? Now I'll make that, all right, Lynn, were you starting to? I
I
read
can
it.
find it. Give me a second, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I make the motion regarding consistency of this action, that the requested rezoning is consistent with the Troutman strategic plan and the future land use map, as it will serve to guide residential development in the scale and density prescribed in these policy documents by allowing appropriate medium-density residential development, their customary access uses. Finally, the requested rezoning is considered reasonable and in the public interest as it proposes to allow the retention of residential development in the areas of Troutman where it is appropriate.
Sir? All right, we've heard the motion regarding consistent statement. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a first and a second. Any discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion regarding consistency statement, the rezoning has been passed unanimously. All right, we will now move on to item 20, a rezoning request. Lee Bowens, 37931 Murdoch Road, and I will turn the conversation over to Lynn, but first I will open the public hearing. And again, start with Ms. Hare, our planning director. Ms. Hare?
Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, this is a rezoning request. Unlike the application we just heard, this is a traditional rezoning, not conditional. The applicant on this request is Leon Bowens Jr. The property owner is Charlie R. Mills. The property is currently zoned RS, which is suburban residential. This isn't our ETJ, so it's currently zoned a Troutman zoning classification. The applicant is requesting that that zoning be changed to light industrial. As I stated previously, this is a traditional zoning, so no site plan is required as part of the application. The property is approximately 43 acres in size. On the screen in front of you is a location showing the property highlighted in red. There are 3 parcels involved. The property is located on Murdoch Road. Recently, we did rezone these adjacent parcels to industrial as well. This will be another phase of that same project. This is our current zoning map. The property you see there in green, all of these properties are zoned RA, which is residential, suburban residential in the town of Troutman. There are industrial properties located in this location, as well as along Murdoch Road in this area. And then across the street, you have the industrial zoning at the Walmart Distribution Center. This is our future land use map, and as I previously stated, this is a tool that we use to make zoning decisions. This map was adopted or amended and adopted at the end of 2022. The property in question this evening is shown as Employment Center, and the zoning classification that matches that is light industrial, which is what the applicant is requesting this evening. The planning board heard this at their meeting last month, and they unanimously recommended denial. There was some opposition there that evening. The applicant is here as well to make a presentation. If you have any questions of me, that ends my presentation, and I'm happy to answer.
Any questions for Ms. Hare?
Can I ask you questions about the planning meeting?
Absolutely, yes.
All right, they recommended denial. Did they provide any grounds? Because I watched the video and I couldn't see any.
You know, I just think they felt like there was enough industrial in the area already, and I believe that was the concern that came through, at least from my perspective. They did not give a reason specifically stated for the denial, other than they felt like that there was a lot of industrial in the area, and they were concerned with all of the residential and the agricultural, just the area changing to industrial. They had a concern with that.
So no legal grounds at all.
Well, this is a legislative matter,
Right.
so you know the board can deny it based on, you know, what their opinion was. Yeah.
One of the things I did hear, if you don't mind, Lynn, me
Sure,
responding
absolutely.
to that, was Randy said that it was not conditional. I did hear him say that.
Which in this situation, the applicant, the LI zoning, we do have some zoning classifications in the ordinance which require a conditional zoning process, like heavy industrial. Any new heavy industrial district has to go through that CZ process, but LI does not. So we legally cannot require an applicant to do a conditional zoning application unless the ordinance specifically states so, and in this situation it did not.
So when it's not conditional, just for the public's knowledge, when it's not conditional, does that mean that they can do anything there and we don't know what's going to?
Well, it means that they follow the ordinance that you've already adopted. So when you adopt the UDO, there's uses that you've agreed that you think are you know, perfectly fine in the LI district and are suitable in the LI district. There's standards in there like landscaping, like setbacks, building height, densities, all of those things are set by ordinance. It means they have to follow the ordinance. What a conditional zoning does is it does allow you to review the concept plan and condition it. And you can provide conditions similar to what you did tonight on architecture. That's a big one. A lot of conditional zoning, especially on residential, allows you to attach some additional architectural standards. It could allow you to say, well, you know what? In that HI district, we like this use, but not that use. Would you be willing to remove it? Now, anything in the conditional zoning has to be agreed to by the applicant, which we just saw. So that is the difference, is it just gives you the ability to discuss it a little bit more, to negotiate a little bit more, but it does not mean that there's no standards or rules. Those have already been adopted.
Thank you, Lynn.
Lynn, this is the third phase. So phase 1 and 2 was a different zoning. It was heavy industrial, and now this phase 3 is light industrial.
Phase 1 was conditional heavy industrial. Phase 2 was light industrial.
So
and then
in
this
this
one,
second,
that
this
is correct.
third,
That's
it's
correct.
going to be light.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? All right. Okay, then we'll, let's see, we'll move into the second phase of our hearing here and ask for the applicant to address the council.
Sam Barnett with Sam Barnett Commercial Real Estate. I am the real estate broker representing the developers for this project, the applicant Leon Ballens. It seems pretty clear to us that what we're trying to do here matches the future land use plan. It's pretty obvious. It's all gray, right? You've seen us before here. You know we like heavy industrial, which is what we wanted, and we were able to compromise on that for our first park, where some of it's heavy industrial, some of it's light industrial. We heard a lot of feedback, a lot of pushback from the neighbors, and we internally discussed the fact that we wanted to go ahead, and it seemed like the major resistance was for the heavy industrial use. We decided to go ahead with our phase 2 and phase 3, to go ahead and try to be good neighbors and not push for the heavy industrial, to go ahead and go with the light industrial. So, you know, one thing to think about here, and there was some opposition at the planning and zoning hearing, and I'm sure you're going to hear some opposition tonight. And there's some things that I think should be thought about, you know, specifically by some of the neighbors that I think you're going to hear from. This is a very low impact use. It's not a ton of traffic, not a lot of noise. This is light industrial. These are warehouses, very high-end warehouses. If anybody's been through any of our other business parks, you barely hear anything. It's just not a lot of traffic. So, you know, I think it should be considered. You know, I think ideally the neighbors want it to not be developed at all. I think that's the perfect situation. And if that's what they wanted, they had the opportunity to buy the property and they didn't. What do you want, a shopping center? Do you want apartments? Do you want housing? Well, the only way housing would make sense would be if it was high density for the cost of this land. So I don't think any of the alternative uses would be any better than what we're proposing here, short of doing nothing. And Charlie Mills, who owns this property, it's been in his family for generations. How is that fair to him to not be able to sell this property and get its highest and best use, you know, cost for his sale, because some of the neighbors don't like it? You know, this is the money that he's going to live off of, and it's his family farm. And you know, all the developers here, this is nobody coming from New York, New Jersey, California. This is all the developers. All three are from Mooresville, and they've got a lot of emotion involved. You know, they're all going to be in this park, doing their own businesses. And just to kind of give you an idea, since we don't have a plan to present, it's not a conditional zoning. We don't have a TIA to present. But what I can tell you is, just to give you an idea of who we're working with here, these developers. One of the terms in our contract with the seller, I'll read it to you from our contract. Buyer to keep bronze plaque on property recognizing seller's family farm that meets the requirements of the town of Troutman and Iredell County. Seller to name the roads on the property using Mills' family member names. Okay? Trying to preserve the history here. You know, you're going to hear people tonight probably talking about, you know, the Murdoch Road and the Murdoch family and how this used to be their farmland. Well, don't forget, this is farmland that they sold. If they wanted it to continue to be farmland, they could have kept it and not sold it, but that's what they chose not to do. And so why should Charlie Mills have to pay the penalty for that? And, you know, again, just to kind of give an explanation of who we're dealing with here with the developers, Butch, Tony, and Peter, the developers for this property, got a call from Ruatan Clone a couple days before Thanksgiving in a panic. Their donor that was supposed to pay for all these turkeys for all these needy people backed out. And they asked for $1,000 for turkeys. These guys in 24 hours just said, hey, let's help them out. Let's make sure all these people get their turkey dinners. And they said, how about, we'll just give you $1,500, right? And so, like I said, I can't talk, you know, really about our project, but I can talk about the people that we're dealing with here. good people, the Phase 1 project that you're familiar with to the west, the three first buildings that are going in, the first one on the left, the owners from Mooresville, one of the developers. The first building on the right, the buyer lives in Troutman. The second building on the right that's going in, the buyer lives in Troutman. These are local businesses to employ local people. And there's been a lot of resistance that I've seen in other meetings about, oh, there's all this residential development. There's these apartments and these houses and everything going in everywhere. And people have been complaining about that. Well, all these people need somewhere to work. So where are they supposed to go? Mooresville or Statesville or Charlotte? This is a great opportunity to employ a lot of these people that are coming here. And so we hope that you will consider allowing this to be rezoned to light industrial. And let me know whatever questions you have.
Any questions for Ms. Burnett? Second, sir, I think.
I don't have any right now.
Not right
I'm good.
Not now.
Not now? Not now. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks.
All right, those who have signed up from the community to speak, we will allow at this time. Remember, please, we have 3 minutes, so please get to the point and stick to the point because that 3 minutes will go by pretty fast. If there's a group of you that are the same mind, want to say the same thing, if you don't mind, perhaps appoint a speaker to speak for you. The speaker can ask you to stand up. We can see the numbers that he or she is representing in that way. In other words, because we're going to start losing people's attention, if this thing goes on and on and on, and we certainly don't want to do this too important a situation in a matter for it to be handled any less than seriously and deliberately. And so I do ask again for your to the point, and instead of having 20 speakers, perhaps 1, 2, or 3 speakers representing the balance of people. So that's my request to you. And if you have signed up, if you have not and wish to speak, please, when you get to the podium, sign your name. If you already signed up, that's fine. You don't need to do it a second time. So I will allow the first speaker to begin.
Hello, my name is Joyce Murdoch-Felke. My property borders the 45 acres on the east side of Murdoch Road. I retired in Austin several years ago and came back here to keep my home place where I grew up in Troutman. And I wanted to make it useful because I have beautiful woods of old growth oak trees and pastures and gardens, and grew up on a bigger farm. This is just my little piece of the Murdoch property. It's been in our family for 2.5 centuries. So I've started a art therapy group for special needs students that come once a week. I'm a retired counselor, and we use the outdoors. We have a lot of nature studies and art projects. We sent you some poems this week. I don't know if you got them, but in addition to that, I've been working with Mitchell College to develop a preschool and the Early Childhood Development Center, an outdoor nature school based on Reggio Emilia. I think this industrial warehouse park across the road from my house would be would have a great impact on my property. And the way this started is very unusual because a few years ago, Michael, something happened that intruded into our neighborhood. We've always had that buffer zone up there at the Y where the vocational school is, but Walmart came in, and then the next one, Michael, and then this. And those were about the same time, I think. Hold off, Michael. Just keep it on there. So this property next to the cement company lost its value. Who's going to want to live next to that? Mr. Now, would you want to live next to that? No, the concrete trucks go all day long. I can hear them from my house across the other side of the 45 acres. And the lights stay on all night. It's like an airport. So that's an intrusion into our neighborhood. The next thing that happened, Michael, after the property owner next door to the concrete company couldn't sell his residential, then it goes to this developer. 40 acres of this first phase. And there's Charlie and Jessica's house being, surrounded by the industrial park. So this first 48 acres was rezoned to industrial, encroaching into our green space. Michael. And then behind this 40 acres or 38 acres, the first phase, is the Payne Country Estate, a 45-acre beautiful property. You can see the trees, the woods. They've been there for ages. And now they're facing an industrial park. Ms. Harris, would you want to live in front of an industrial park? So.
Ms. Felke, I apologize for interrupting you, but you've been 3 minutes and we talked. And,
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought before you said I could have 5 minutes.
Yes, ma'am,
because
exactly. I'm just letting
Okay,
you know
I'll
where
speed
we are.
up. I'm sorry. Okay, next slide, Michael. So here we have the first phase in the front. Behind is the country estate being sold. And next to that, the alpaca farm. Looking out from the alpaca farm, you can see the 80 acres over here being bulldozed. Once that concrete is poured, there's no going back. This will be ruined forever. In 30 years, this is going to be a derelict warehouse property. There's so much good things that could be done with this. Mitchell College needs a college campus. This would be a perfect place. We need small homesteads in our neighborhood. But an industrial park coming in violates our property rights. I know you're thinking about Charlie's property rights, but what about ours? What about my school? Do we get any consideration? This could be so many good things, but once the concrete covers that field, and we have a field of concrete warehouses, there's no going back. So my petition that's signed by all of the people in our neighborhood that know that our property values will go down, our quality of life will be destroyed, more pollution, more, lights all night, and it's just not the best use of this property. So we're asking you, please, follow the promise that you gave us in the 2035 vision. You said 3 things. You'll protect our natural attributes, our quality of life, and our historic areas. Those 3 things are being destroyed. Look at this picture. So we are asking that you please protect our property rights. Thank you.
If you want to give those petition papers to
Yes.
our clerk, she'll be glad to. No, that's fine. Just leave it on the podium, please. The signature sheets, leave on the podium, and the petition that you have, if you would. Oh, is that petition? Yes. I'm sorry, I apologize. I thought that was the sign. Okay, if you'll give that to our town clerk, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, who would be the second speaker for the community?
Hey, I didn't write my name yet. I'm Melissa. I'm of the age where I need to put my glasses on to see what I'm doing. My name is Melissa Suggs. I live at 330 Duck Creek Road, which is adjacent to this 35 acres that's up for being changed. I'm asking that we would keep it, this land in my neighborhood, all of it, suburban residential. As I stated, I live on Duck Creek Road. Just around the corner from my house is a farmhouse that my great-grandfather, J.C. Murdoch, built over 100 years ago on family land that has been there, has been in the Murdoch family since 1764. My brother and I own and operate a grass-fed beef business where we sell directly to our friends and neighbors in the community. Okay, in addition to raising cows, I homeschool my 3 children. You probably saw them here earlier. They got a little bored and went home with their daddy. And we've all learned a lot about civics recently. I've taught them that a founding principle of our country's constitutional republic is representative government. And this map that was adopted for future land use, I don't have the right or the privilege to elect anybody that votes on the outcome. That's an injustice. So I was blessed to be born here. My family and I chose to live here because we like trees and we like grass and we like pastures, and yes, even the braying of the neighbors' donkeys. We don't want to go outside and see concrete. We don't want the value of our hard-earned land to go down in the name of, quote, progress. I would humbly ask each of you to think about progress as something other than a bottom line or more of something. I would ask for you to think of progress as creating or protecting the legacy and the history of what has made Troutman and its outskirts the charming place it's been for generations, so that I can proudly pass on to my children what my grandfather and his grandfather passed on. Thank you.
And, next speaker, please.
My name is Jessica Williams, and to your comment, I think we don't want it to be developed, but if we have to have it developed, I think all of our neighbors would proudly say that we would rather see it be an apartment complex, a shopping center, a grocery store, anything else other than an industrial site. So when we bought our house, we plan to do many things with our 1.5 acre property. We plan to install a pool, turn our detached garage into a guest house, have a backyard getaway, if you will. We can no longer do that because of this hazardous industrial development. We recently had to spend unnecessary money surveying and installing trees along our property line to help with the eyesore of what to be with all of this construction. The industrial park is directly infringing on our right to live in peace, live safely, and to use our property the way that we want to. There are no safeguards for residents, it seems, no conditions for an industrial site directly adjacent to single-family homes. So industrial sites are not healthy or safe for residential communities. I think we all can agree on that. So this is why there are zoning restrictions and specific conditions on this type of development. So the UDO of Troutman states that the residential homes are not prohibited use for light or heavy industrial areas. So then why is it okay for this industrial use to be prohibited in a residential area without any conditions? There are conditions put on the original parcel impacting a handful of homes. This new parcel now directly affects a vast amount of residential housing all the way from Murdoch Road to Duck Creek, and there are no conditions. Why is the town of Troutman not protecting the people? Look at this, look at where it's going. Use common sense, please. Residential housing surrounded by what will be logistics and industrial manufacturing with no conditions, no parameters, just a green light to do whatever they want. Is this industrial development bettering the people of Troutman or just the officials? This seems to be environmental injustice and inequity for residents. Research shows after industrial sites are built in close proximity to housing, property values steadily decline year after year. Usually when large developments come to town seeking business agreements, towns will ask for incentives from the developers, expanded sidewalks, improved green areas, some type of trade-off. The people and families who are now forced to be covered on all sides of their homes get nothing. I'm completely 180 encapsulated at this point if this goes through. No tax write-off, no option to sell. Who's going to want to buy my property? No way out of the hell that we're about to endure. Where is the protection from our elected officials for the residents on Murdoch Road and surrounding areas? We should not be forced to have to stay here and watch our properties be torn apart and devalued while this developer gets the red carpet rolled out just to come in and buy up every single square inch of land surrounding us while we wait for our property value to hit an all-time low. We should be given the option for
Your
develop.
time has expired.
Mr. Hinkle.
Could you, 30 seconds, please?
Okay. We should be given the option for developers to buy our property at a fair market value, not $50,000, which they offered my neighbor $50,000 for his property with a home on it that he lives in. So fair market value so they can build their industrial park and these residents can move out of harm's way. So our property rights will not be infringed upon. I would like to ask the council, when this is built, will I be able to go out into my backyard? Will it be safe or harmful to my health? Can you guarantee that the business conducted here will not cause harm to me or my family whatsoever? If the answer is no, why would you vote yes to this? Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
I hadn't signed, I'll be more than glad to sign. Town board,
Please go ahead and sign, just so make sure
Okay.
that your name is there.
I ain't gonna take just a couple minutes of your time. Is there any way I can get the plot, the land? My name is Scott Murdoch. Mr. Charles Mills is my brother-in-law. The property, and may I walk over there and show my property? And I'm not gonna take this is my property. This is Barium. This is what's being developed now. I've got approximately 30 head of cattle on there and 2 donkeys. You asked about buying it. There is a family problem. Every family has it. He wouldn't sell it to me for nothing. If you would tell me what you paid for it, I want anybody in here to see if they could buy it for farmland. There is no way I could pay his price to continue my farm. Now, my cows are gonna be there, and my donkeys are gonna holler. And within a few years, y'all will be getting complaints. And is there any way if I go right here and build me a big old chicken house and let all the neighbors smell chickens? Now, please, remember what I'm trying to,
You need to come back to the microphone, Scott.
okay, I'm sorry.
You're good, you're good.
But the thing about it is, he was talking about, yes, he's selling it. He has no ties. I know there's people in this neighborhood knows him. He's done moved off. My father-in-law and my wife's grandpa would be turning over in their grave knowing what he's doing to that. I'm not trying. I'm shaking like, because I'm upset. I wasn't going to speak, but I am. But like I said, you seen my property. I have cows, Angus cattle, and I have donkeys. What is my step next? We get we have an outlet on Duck Creek. I get letters, my wife, all the time to buy. We don't want to sell. We're not going to sell. But you see what I'm encased. I got barium building on the backside, the phase 1 and 2 on one side, and then this will. What's my thing? Thank y'all for your time. That is my opinion. When is this going to stop for this community? When is this going to stop? It's my life. Please, my grandson wants to deer hunt on that property. What's people going to say when you hear shots? My thing is too, I can't vote for y'all, but y'all can ruin my life. Y'all say so. I can't vote you in, I can't vote you out, but you can ruin my future plans for my family. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you.
All right, anyone else would like to speak to us? Please sign in if you have not.
I sure will, yes, sir.
Excuse me. I don't mind you, but whisper a little lower, please.
My name is Gene Reese. Lynn, can you mark that pointer of the land I own? I have 43 acres also adjoining the Mills property. Lynn can point on the left side of it. I go all the way through to Hoover Road. My mother was a Murdoch. I live in Mount Airy. And my objection is not so much a sentimental objection. My objection is a practical objection and an objection about the vision of Troutman. And I think you can do better. I mean, I spoke to this, I think, Paul, you were at the planning board meeting, but I mean, y'all sitting on and you've won the lottery in terms of growth coming your way, and you have the luxury of making this community whatever you want to make it. And I just think this is a gross miss. I think the land use plan missed it on this Murdoch Road area. For me personally, I can cash it in, I realize that, but I think, I'm not talking about a fairness issue, but in terms of value of a community, what you want it to look like 30 years from now, I would suggest it be turned down, and this is no offense to the developers. I think they were very well prepared tonight, and I appreciate it. I developed, so I get it. And secondly, I think the land use plan has a flaw in it on this Murdoch Road area. The land's too valuable for suboptimal use, and industrial property, particularly light industrial property, you take the equipment out of an industrial building, and over time is the fastest decline in asset value per acre I can think of. So my objection is where you might get some tax value now, you don't get the density of development that provides the tax base per acre that this type of land is worth. It's too valuable a land for industrial park. It's spot developed. It's not a cluster development. It has, it's shoehorned, of course, between residential sections. It's commingled with the residential, and you have all the backlash you've been hearing about tonight. But it's just a haphazard development of this part of the county. And again, I have a practical objection to it. Talking about buildings aging poorly, and I own some industrial buildings, and I've been at it I'm working on my 50th year as an active in business. And I handed you all a little spreadsheet there that has, the bottom 4 or 5 are Troutman, and the top 10 or 15 are in Mount Airy. And I do have a good viewpoint. Not that Mount Airy is not some big shot, big city person coming here and tell you how to do things, but we have a much more mature industrial base than what you have here. And our buildings have been there much longer, 30 years, 20 years, 50 years. And all these buildings I listed, the top 10 or 15, if you'll go to this column right here, you'll see the tax value per acre. And most of those buildings are 20 to 40 years old. And you'll see the tax value per acre, $30,000, $70,000, $50,000, $112,000. Again, those types of buildings, and every single one without exception does not have any residential around it that's of any quality. And that's my concern for this land. I think you can do better as a community than to give up this kind of land of this value. I'm not saying don't develop it, but I'm saying it needs to be something better than light industrial or heavy industrial. I want to show you one, if he can have can you have a picture? Well, I would invite you to write this down if you want to see what can go wrong with, you'll get a tax value decline, and that spreadsheet's actual numbers off the tax books. I know every one of those companies, and those buildings, and some of those buildings are occupied by really good companies. Pike Electric, seen some Insteels in them, Rent for a Hosiery, over $1 billion companies. And even with those good companies occupying those buildings deserve an area not as desirable as this. This land is too valuable for this type of use. And I think someone mentioned, once industrial, never anything but industrial. That land will never, I do historic preservation work, and I can't tell you how difficult it is to get out of to deal with a brownfields agreement. I'm sure the developers have dealt with some of those. But I think you're making a decision, and we may all be dead by then. He won't be, but the rest of us may be dead by then. I think you're making a decision that this community will regret 30 years from now, 40 years from now. And I'm not sentimental about this farm. My mother grew up there. If it gets, I can sell mine. I realize that, but I'm concerned about it. Okay. Is that it? Thank you, Paul. Thank you for talking to me, sending me an email back, by the way. Yeah. Well, I gave you all a hand.
Thank you, Gene.
It was nice talking to you the other day, too. I didn't agree with a single thing you said, but you were really nice to me.
Did everybody hear what he said? I was very nice, even though he didn't like nothing I said.
need that one in the microphone. Posterity.
You folks have to forgive me, I'm speechless right at the moment.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, council. I was asking a request for deferral of this meeting, so we can defer it to another date, so we have more of the development that's going on. Have like conditions, at least have some kind of conditions for the neighbors, please.
Sir, state your name for the record, please.
Steve Bang. Bang. I live on Murdoch Road. So, thank you.
Would anyone else like to address us? All right. At this point, before I close the meeting, is there anything on council that you would like to say? Staff, anything? Well, at this point, I will close the public hearing, and we will move into the discussion phase before I call for a motion. So, again, I will ask for any discussion among council members concerning what we have heard this evening.
Nothing? I think Murdoch Road has been a point of contention since before I even knew what Troutman was. I've lived here for 8 years. I've served on the council for 2. Many of you know me. Many of you I've spent time with. I think things like this bring out the worst in people. And I think that's something that we've seen with this issue. There's no right answer. There's no right answer here. I don't care where you live. I don't care which parcel is yours. I don't care how old your family is. All right? I sit up here, right? I get accused all the time of being a crook. Right? Everybody likes to point to Barium. You know, my property backs up to that development. All right? So there's just been a lot of things said over the past year that I think if a lot of people took a step back and looked at what they've said, I think they would be ashamed. All right? So I don't know. I don't know how to vote on this one. I'm going to have to here in a minute, but as you can see, I'm stalling. All right? So I sympathize with everything that was said tonight. Right? I agree with what you say about your families and about your history, because I've uprooted. I'm one of these carpetbaggers that came in here, right? I'm one of these people that you want to chase out of here, right? But this is my home, just like it's your home, right? I started my family here. I'm going to raise my 2 kids here, right? They're going to go to these Troutman schools that are overcrowded, that I hear about all the time, right? And I'm going to drive them on these streets every day, like I do every day on these streets that are too crowded, right? And it's all my fault, all right? And I'm sorry. I wish I could get a shovel and go fix it all right now, right? But I can't, all right? I have to try and make the decision that is best for Troutman, right? We have a land use plan that I was part of the committee, right, to amend, all right? And several of us were incredibly disappointed by the public input. I recognize one face from that process that came to those meetings and gave their input. All right, one. All right, and not only that, when we amended it, we didn't touch this part of town. All right, we did not touch Murdoch. That has been light gray for
more than 2 decades.
Okay, yes. I was a hip sophomore in college, right, when that happened, right? Now I'm a graying man with 2 kids, all right? And I'm not saying, oh, you missed your chance. That's not what this is about, all right? That's not what any of these processes are about, all right? But I feel for myself. I feel for my fellow council members, because we can't win here, all right? We can't win, all right? So I don't have anything else to say. I'm just quite disappointed, a little bit hurt, very offended, right, by a lot of things that have gone on in this town over the past couple years regarding issues like this. All right, there's ways to go about doing things. You know, you say you're a developer, you know as well as anybody, right? There's a way to get things done, right? And I guess they're not teaching that in school anymore. All right, so that's all I got. It's yours, Mayor Pro Tem.
The only thing I was thinking about is no matter what we do there, it's gonna be a problem. So I basically summed up in 30 seconds what you just said. No matter what we put there, we put housing, we're gonna get complaints about traffic. We put this, we're gonna get complaints about the hazardous, potential hazardous. So I agree with what you said, Jerry. That's all.
The land, like Jerry just stated, the land use map hasn't changed in 20 years.
All right, are we ready to call for the vote? I'll simply say this, and you know, listening to Jerry and Clean Agree and Eddie, you know, it's a situation to where, yeah, I was on the council in 1990s when that discussion was held in that regard concerning Murdoch Road, and the thought process has been there that it will one day develop. When that is, of course, is the big question mark. You know, I'm you know, my feeling is that 5-10 years from now, this same issue can come before the council at that time, which I'm sure will not have me, may not have any of us, and it will be perhaps more appropriate. Some folks will have moved on, some will perhaps passed on. It's just nature, circle of life. And it will be, you know, I'm seeing more and more of it. You know, the older folks enjoy the land. They want to keep it rural, what they remember as a child. As soon as they are in a nursing home and kids got the power of attorney, or they've passed on and the relatives have inherited, whoever is the highest bidder gets the land. I've seen it time and time again, and I continue to see it. You know, the young people just don't have the same traditional values as some of the older ones do. And that's why I say, you know, 5-10 years from now, this probably won't be an issue. You know, looking at the map, I can see other spots that I would have liked to have seen perhaps this, you know, still touching the other two parcels. It would have been a little further away from the neighbors, a little less impactful on the neighbors and a little bit more towards the back, but still be connected to the other two parcels so that you could have ingress and egress to the property. But, you know, you can't always have what you would like to see. You know, you have the compassionate end. You feel for the neighbors. You feel for the people. Unfortunately, I'll just say the real estate agents, you know, that should be a requirement to tell you what the plans are by a town or city. And I'm not talking just Troutman, okay, whether Statesville, Charlotte, Greensboro, you know, that they tell you what the future plans, what you're buying, what those are going to be, so that you can make the determination, well, I'll take a chance, go ahead and buy my house anyhow, or not. And then that way, if you know, you move in 2, 3, 5 years later, someone comes and wants to do something like this near your property, you know, the only recourse you have is to say, well, I was warned, I took a chance and I lost. I gambled and I lost. And vice versa, you may win. So, you know, I'm the kind of person that, you know, I do put myself in other people's shoes as much as I can. But at the same time, I've got, you know, I've been elected to this position and I'm expected to go by the law. I'm expected to represent the best interest of Troutman, and I'm expected to follow the rules, regulations, the UDO, and the land use maps as best as reasonably possible. as best as possible. And sometimes you can't always do that. You know, our future land use map is just that, it's future. It may not be today. It could be 5 or 10. You know, some of these people that are concerned, I've had people on Hoover Road that are maybe concerned. You know, I think many of them will not be there to see what takes place there. I think it's that slow of a moving. I mean, you know, we started talking about Murdoch Road back in the 90s. Here we are, 2023, and we're just now seeing the development that was discussed back in the mid-90s when a former 2 mayors ago. So, you know, this is nothing new, as has been said. So, but again, like I say, there's the compassionate factor in my heart that, you know, I used the same logic approximately 2 years ago with some property that developer was asking to rezone down on South Wagner Street. And it was the same way. They pretty much followed the UDO, but I just felt it was not the right time. In due time, it would be right, I feel like, but not right now. And that is how I went. I went with that sentiment, and I still feel that way. And I still feel that someday there will be townhomes and not just single detached residential homes on that property. But that's ways to be seen. But again, it would be something down the road. So again, as Jerry, I am conflicted. I'm still sitting here within seconds of having to vote. And I can vote, even though I'm filling in for the mayor, I can vote because what I'm doing here tonight is temporary, not permanent. If I were interim or temporary or permanent mayor, I wouldn't be able to vote except to break a tie. But so if anyone questions, I can vote in the circumstance tonight. So again, what I started to say is I'm like Jerry, I'm conflicted, and the rest of them, I'm sure, as to what to do, and I guess I will make my decision at the second that I have to make it. And I'll ask my fellow council members just to be sure I'm going to, when the motion is made and second made, if there is a first and a second, that we raise our hands for and against, so that the audience will see, and there'll be no question in their minds, well, who did what. Not that I'm trying to put anybody on the spot, but I want transparency. The people see, and the developers see who voted how, and based on what they're hearing from us this evening. So with that, I will say that I will call for a motion on this, whether to rezone this property or not.
I will make that motion to approve rezoning request RZ 23-08. The reason for this motion, the request fits our land use map.
Gretchen, do I have a second to that first?
I'll second.
All right, I have a first and a second. Do I have any further discussion before I call for the vote? All right, I'm going to call for the vote, and I'll ask Felina first. Please indicate by raising your hand that you are for the motion.
You can do it all at once.
Excuse me?
Just all in favor, raise your hand
All right.
at once.
All right, then again, just all in favor, please raise your hand. All right, all against, please raise your hand. So we have a tie. So,
That means it fails.
with that, thank you, folks. Thank you for turning out. Decision has been made. I'm sure it'll come back to us or to other people in due time, and perhaps a different outcome will take place then, but it didn't happen tonight. So.
You still have to do the statement of consistency so
Thank
that
you,
they
sir.
can proceed
Thank
with
you.
legal action.
Thank you. All right, do I have a motion for the regarding consistency of what we just passed? All right, you want to read it, Philly? I can.
You got it, go ahead.
Action describing consistency example, rezoning to, nope, I'm sorry, action to amend, nope. Action to reject, I will get the right one, excuse me, folks. Action to reject rezoning to light industrial. Light industrial is consistent with the 2035 future land use map. The inconsistency being it's just, at this point in time, it is just not conducive to current land use. Even though it is in our future land use map, it is not conducive to current land use. Do I have a second to that?
Second.
All right, first and second, any discussion? All right, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of the consistency statement, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Against, please say no.
Nay.
All right, we have one nay and 3 ayes to the consistency statement. All righty. Our next action is item number 21, annexation request of AX 2312, applicant Martin Ray Holdings. Ms. Hare?
Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, this is a request for annexation. The property is located at 681 South Eastway Drive. It's approximately 1.19 acres in size. The applicant and the property owner are Martin Ray Holdings. This is a contiguous annexation. The applicant does intend to develop the adjacent property for a single-family subdivision. We actually have plans in our office that we're reviewing at this time. This is a by right development, but these 2 front parcels do need to be annexed so that they can incorporate it into the development and use it as part of their entry. Staff is recommending approval. If you have any questions, I'm happy to address.
I have a question.
I believe I need to open
Open the hearing.
the public hearing. I apologize to the audience. The public hearing is open, and what Ms. Hare just said is part of the if we'll add that to the public hearing. All right. Any questions from Ms. Hare?
I have one.
All right, sir.
This is not the first time this property's come before us.
That is correct.
The last time there was, if memory serves, a lot of issues with how and where, right, that the property was going to tie into Eastway. Right, so I haven't seen like any big changes in this area, so it seems like we're going to have the same type of issues here. I know this is not, we have no plan or anything like that, so we can't discuss a site plan, but I don't need a site plan to see where they're going to tie into Eastway.
Yeah, and I don't know, this isn't going to be the main entrance. But this is they have another entrance off of, I can't remember the name of the street that runs down the side. But DOT does have to approve these entrances because Eastway is a state-maintained road.
Right.
So they have looked at it. But there will be some sort of, I think it might even be an emergency entrance right here, not a full access. But this will, it's gone from a townhome project at a much higher density to a by right single family with I believe about 40 lots. They're building it by right.
Can I ask about the history of the property?
Sure.
This was initially how it was rezoned. Was I even born?
That's my understanding. I was not here when it was rezoned to RT, but there is a rezoning file in our office that shows where someone brought a project to the town, wanted to build single family on the site, and it was approved. Okay. That never came to fruition. The developer who's developing this project sought to have it rezoned for townhomes, which you all denied, and they are bringing it back now as a by right project.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Hare? All right, do we have an applicant that would like to address us? All right, not seeing an applicant, well, we'll open it up to the public. No one wishes to speak to it, okay. I will now close the public hearing, and I will ask for any discussion with the council regarding this matter. Okay, hearing none, I will call for the vote on the annexation request. Do I have a motion to deny or to accept the annexation request?
I'll make a motion that we accept the annexation request as presented.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
All right, first a second. One more time, any discussion before we take a vote? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of annexation request, AX 23-12, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay?
Nay.
All right, nay. All right, we have 3 to 1. Motion is passed. Property has been, 1.19 acres has been annexed. Let's see. All right, we'll move on to organizational business. Administration of oaths of office for town council. I will turn it over to our town manager.
You came in when I went outside.
I snuck in. How are you?
Good. Nick, come on, please.
Hey, Chris, it's good to see you.
And Eddie, come down, please.
Sure. First of all, this is a real honor, and I appreciate y'all having me up here. From a boy down the road in Mooresville, I am so thrilled. I love this town and what y'all do, and even driving in the way, it was all lit up coming in on the walkway, just beautiful. And I just really appreciate y'all as neighbors. And if you come out into Mooresville and ever need something, please don't hesitate. We're really thankful to have y'all as our neighbors. Thankful to have these guys. T. Ross decided he's going to run for the border. He didn't want to get sworn in. We lose him.
But he's going to get a second ball.
This is your last chance. Does anybody, you have anybody hold your Bible?
Can we position so that?
You want to come up and hold the Bible?
Oh, you have one? Okay, okay.
So that's the easiest way to do this is your demo. This is you. And it's read everything. And at the end, I say, so help you God. So help you God. That sound good? Do what? There you go.
Let me get this out of the way so the photographer can make all of you all look better.
Good. Right hand on the Bible, raise your left.
Slide over, Eddie, toward them. And Mr. Mayor, if you would stand.
Right here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ready? All right, let's turn back now.
When he says blank, gentlemen, y'all say your name, he's reading everything else.
Do you
Eddie now.
solemnly swear that you will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States, that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, that you will faithfully execute the duties of the office of Town Council of the Town of Troutman, according to the best of your skill and ability, according to the law, so help you God.
So help me God.
There you have it. Congratulations.
In addition to these folks being, receiving the new oath and getting the oath the second time, I would also like to thank the mayor coming up from Mooresville to visit us to administer your oaths. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Nick.
You sit here now.
Have a seat.
You come from the cool seat to the hot seat.
I'm not a bad neighbor, I promise. Uh-oh. Let's sit next to you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Goodies over there.
Okay, we ready to proceed, sir? Oh, just one second. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and move on. We're looking at item number 23, selection of a mayor pro tem. This is a yearly requirement municipalities and county governments do. And this is an opportunity for anyone who would like to be mayor pro tem to speak up and let the council make its choice.
Councilman Oxer, are you interested in that, sir?
I would defer to the current mayor pro tem, but if he chooses that he no longer wishes to fill the role, I would consider it a tremendous honor.
Would you like to have it?
No, sir.
Don't even look at me. See, I got choked up because I don't even look at me.
Again, as you know, I've been a mayor pro tem my previous time on the council, and again, I've been since 2016. And Jerry and I were talking about it very briefly a while ago in a private conversation. And I serve at the pleasure of the council. And if it's time to make a switch, that's fine with me. I do this. It's a voluntary thing, and I'm glad to do it if asked. But if someone else would rather do it and they're fine with it, and that's the will of the council, then I will do it, and we'll all shake hands and get along just fine. So it's whatever the rest of you, 4 of you, I guess we'd say now.
Just looking at Jerry's face.
I don't know if I'm supposed to vote or not, but I'll go with the rest of the 4's decision.
Just for clarification, you're okay with staying, but if someone else wants it, you'll let them have it.
Well, I guess it's just a way of saying I don't exist for a title. Titles are something that fine. If I'm just plain councilman, I'm fine with that. If I'm mayor pro tem, I'm fine, and I'm fine with the added responsibility. I'm fine without the added responsibility. So, I've served my time, and if say somebody like Jerry would like to have it, I don't want to stunt his growth. If that's fine. If he wants to wait another year, I mean, we'll do this again next year, and we can look at it at that time if he still would like to have it, or someone else. But again, if I'm offered it, I will take it with a smile and I'll give it 100%. But if the gavel passes, or the mayor pro tem gavel passes to someone else, then I'm fine as well. I just don't want someone to make a decision, concerned about my feelings. I just do what you want to do and what you feel is right for the council.
You do realize that if I end up with the position, you're still going to be mayor pro tem for a while.
I'll keep your back. You
What
keep
do I do?
mine.
Yeah, you're right.
I'll watch it out. Watch
Fair
yours
enough,
now.
fair enough.
We'll switch off.
Fair enough.
So I'll leave it at that. To answer, Flynn, I hope I answered your question. We just took a contentious vote, and perhaps maybe some people want me to go now because I didn't vote the right way. I don't. It doesn't matter. I've always loved this council because we can disagree, but we disagree as friends. And when the council meetings are over, we shake hands, and if we want to, we can go get a cup of coffee somewhere or whatever. And that's the way I continue to look at it. We're not always going to agree on every single thing. If you probably add up the things we vote on, we agree many, many more times than we disagree. And tonight was just one where I think all of us agreed nobody was going to be totally happy and nobody was going to be totally unhappy. So, it is what it is. We've passed that now, and I only bring that up because, it's just people's feelings are people's feelings. And so I'll serve if you want me to. I'll step down with a smile, and if it's time for a change. It's up to you folks.
Do we just call for a vote?
Well, yeah, I guess we have to have a nomination.
I'll make a nomination that we appoint Councilman Jerry Oxia, Mayor Pro Tem.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All right, any discussion? All right, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Okay, I'm gonna say unanimous. We'll say unanimous?
Fair enough.
All right, unanimous. Sir, as of right now, you are Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you very much.
You wanna take over, or you want me to finish out?
You can finish the meeting, sir.
All right.
Is that,
It is. Well, technically, but he can, go ahead. I mean, nobody's gonna object.
No, well, I mean, it's just mundane. All right, adoption of our.
effective midnight?
Okay. Adoption of the Troutman Town Council 2024 meeting schedule. Anybody have any discussion or objection to it? Okay, I will need to take a vote on that, I presume. All right, so I'll call for the vote. We've all seen it. Do I have a motion to adopt the 2024 Troutman Town Council meeting schedule as presented?
I'll make a motion we adopt the Troutman Town Council 2024 meeting schedule as presented.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a first and second, any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, the meeting schedule for next year is adopted. All right, we get into the appointments. Delegates, alter delegate to the Central Iowa Council of Governments. Who would like to do that?
I'd like to nominate Felina Harris to serve as delegate to the Central Iowa Council of Governments, with Eddie now being the alternate. Can I make two?
You can.
Okay. I will second that motion. Any discussion? You want to do it all at one time or just individually?
Each one.
Each one, all right. All right, well, I'll call for the vote then. All those in favor of Felina and Eddie as alternate to the Central Iowa Council of Governments, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the motion has passed. You two folks are representative and alternate representative. Appointment of alternate to the Charlotte Regional Transportation Planning Organization, CRPTO. All right, do I have any candidates for that?
I make a motion, I would like to nominate Jerry Oxer for CRTPO.
Okay.
As the delegate. And the mayor, no, as the assistant, the mayor is the, I'm sorry.
Right,
I caught
right,
myself,
mayor.
I caught
Yeah,
myself.
the mayor's yeah, by default, yeah.
And then the alternate, the alternate as Jerry Oxer.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have a second for that motion.
Second.
All right, I have a first and a second. Any discussion? All right, I'll call for the vote. All those for Jerry as alternate to the CRTPO in Charlotte, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
I lost everybody there
I'll
for a
stick
second.
with, I'll stick with Mayor Pro Tem.
As opposed, no? Not hearing it. Motion is passed unanimously, and the last appointment, delegate and alternate to Lake Norman Regional Transportation Committee, LNRTC. All right, do I have a nomination for a delegate to that?
I would like to nominate Nick Jarozinski as the delegate to Lake Norman Regional Transportation Commission. I don't have an alternate. Would you like to serve as alternate, Mr. Hinkle? I would like to nominate also Paul Hinkle to serve as alternate to the Lake Norman Regional Transportation Commission.
Okay, all right, we have Nick as representative and myself, Paul Hinkle, as alternate. We have that, now do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
All right, we have first and second, any discussion? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of the delegates to the LNRTC as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, those delegate and alternate delegate have been appointed.
It was a lot
All right.
faster than last time.
Yeah. All right, we go to the public comment section, number 7. Anybody have a comment from the audience? This is time for you to come to the podium and speak your piece. Excuse me? Yeah, it's just open to the public, non-agenda item. Say what's on your mind.
My name is Cass Carbo. Kudos to our elected representatives and kudos to our paid representatives. This is the time of the year when our town looks better than ever. But year-long, this town's greenway and walkways are such that it makes me, as a resident, very proud to reside in Troutman. You all do a fabulous job. My fear is if the state of North Carolina Highway Department ever gets around to improving 21, that they might want to take away that beautiful greenway, and then we won't have such gorgeous decorations at this time of year. But good job. Thank you for the way you represent us, and thank you for the way you do your job, everybody.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Jim Amico. I did sign in. I'm owner of Mad Monkey Garage. It's nice to finally put a face to a name for all of us, I guess. I'm here to speak on the mural, of course, and the decision made behind that by the town. First of all, I think it's good to know the person in himself when you're dealing with somebody. And not many people here know me. I'm not from around here, obviously. I've been here for 9 years in that building. I turned that building into what it is. That building was a sign of death before I got to it. And I've been applauded by many people for what I've done there. As far as the mural is concerned, that was not done with any bad intentions. It was not done in malice of any kind. It's not offensive whatsoever to my knowledge. I've never been told it's offensive. There's no wording behind it that would show it's offensive. I come from a background in New York where, unfortunately, I experienced the worst thing a parent can experience. And I went before my town I'm 4th generation, and I asked them for a stop sign. That stop sign request ensued into a 6-year battle, and it took on a life of its own. I'll spare you all the details, but at the end of the day, the stop sign was installed, and the town went in the direction of pedestrian safety. Now, in those 6 years, I spent 2 weeks every month in front of a dais for 6 years. I came down here with the promise to myself I would never be standing in front of this again. It took a toll on my lifestyle and a toll on my health. So I'm here before you to talk about the direction this took without my knowledge. I had no clue that murals would not be allowed on my building, considering I'm surrounded by murals, and pretty ones at that. I think they're gorgeous. I don't see anything wrong with them. I think it's a beautiful expression. It's art, and I don't know why anybody would object to it. Now, I understand there's some question about how I'm zoned there. That building hasn't been used for heavy industrial long before I got here. That business was sold off years ago and never been used for industrial usage in any shape, way, or form since. And I'm the only one that's actually brought it to where it is now. As you stated, sir, that there's a right way to go about doing things. And as you stated, sir, you try to put yourself in other people's shoes. That didn't happen here. I feel that this was mishandled completely from day one. For 3.5 months, that artist stood out there on the scaffold in scorching heat with a sign stating what he does and who he is. Nobody said a word until about 90% of completion. Then I had somebody from the zoning, planning and zoning, the ordinance kid come down and hand me a letter telling me, and I wasn't there when he arrived the first time. In a letter, and he stated that I needed to go down and speak to Lynn, and she'll tell me what she needs to tell me. She'll explain it to me. It was put to me in a very nonchalant, calm manner, like this was a no big deal thing. So that's the way I addressed it. It took me a little bit to get down there. I didn't go down there right away. I was swamped. And when I finally went down there, I had a nice discussion with Lynn, and she put it to me in a way that, well, we're just going to make some amendments, blah, blah, blah. It was very nonchalant and very kind. So I'm like, okay, no big deal. I went before the Planning and Zoning Board, as she suggested I do, and there was all these recommendations, and everybody was okay with it. And then when the November meeting came, or October, whichever it was that it was voted out, I wasn't able to be here. I wasn't able to speak on my behalf. And this was voted without any input from me or anything whatsoever. I was never approached by anybody except for the kid with a letter. There was no words of cease and desist, ever. Verbally, written, nothing. I was not told to stop. I was told to go down and speak to Lynn. She'll explain it to me. That's all I was told. Now, I don't think anybody here is going to refute that, because that's exactly what happened. Now, our town manager has passed by my building, who I'm friendly with, by the way. We're not strangers to each other. So he's passed by my building several times during the course of it or and after it. No one's ever approached me. I did watch one meeting where he stated that somebody here asked him if he had spoken to me, and he said no, that one day I looked unapproachable or something, I went inside, or however he put it. But if you want to speak to somebody, there's a professional way of handling that. You walk in the man's office and request to speak to him. When a cop wants to speak to me, he doesn't say he wasn't available. He comes in and he speaks to me. I mean, there are right ways to go about doing things, as Jerry had put. And that didn't happen here. I was never given a chance to speak. I was never given a chance to defend. None of that took place here. Now I'm getting letters of violations. Now the violations right now are probably accumulated somewhere near $3,000. So that's ongoing every single day until this is resolved. I'm not looking to make waves. I'm not looking to sit here calling anybody a liar or anything like that. I'm looking to resolve this. So I was also told when I found out about that this was voted out, I went down there to speak to Lynn and asked her how to appeal this. She said Troutman doesn't have an appeals process. Am I correct?
The appeal to a council decision, you would have to appeal that to a civil court.
Okay, so that's what I was told. But now I'm getting letters stating otherwise. That there is a way for me to have a public hearing to refute your decision. There is a way to request, and it's stated right here in your letter, that there is a way to request a hearing and an appeal through the Planning and Zoning Board. So that's not, that wasn't accurate. Yes.
Instead of waiting till later to address that, let planning director address that now so it gets everybody on the same page.
Yeah, that's fine.
Not trying to interrupt.
Oh, no, you're good, you're good.
And it's a good question, but what you have the right to appeal is the decision made on the interpretation of whether or not the mural is allowed there. You're not appealing the council's decision on the text amendment.
Okay, well, that really wasn't explained in that manner when we spoke, and doesn't explain it that way in his letter. So it's kind of gray for somebody who doesn't do this. This is not my job. So it's hard for me to interpret that as an everyday citizen. This is not my forte. I've been self-employed for 40 years. I've never had to deal with anything like this, ever. So what I'm asking is, I'm requesting a hearing, as you state in these letters, as to appeal and refute this. And I'm requesting that you temporarily suspend these violations until we come to this resolve, hopefully by the next meeting of January 11th or whatever date you guys said it was. That's what I'm here for.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to speak to the council? Okay. With that, I will turn it over to council for any discussion. Any topic that we just heard or anything else?
I'd like to say something. First of all, I would like to thank my family for their support and encouragement for my reelection. I'd like to thank my wife, who's my campaign manager, for everything she did for me. I'd like to especially thank our citizens, Betty Jean Troutman, Wes Edmondson, Jimmy Makar, and Miss Sue Brown, and all the citizens that put up signs for me. I'd like to thank the past and present councils that I served with. It's been an honor and a privilege, and for their guidance and leadership. I'd like to also thank everyone, and especially my friend Mayor Chris Carney. Thank you. And also, I'd like to wish all our citizens a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, a Happy Hanukkah, and a Happy Kwanzaa.
Felina, would you say you would like to say?
Just wanted to say that I'm always glad to see a lot of citizens in our in here. Despite the reasons why you come in here, it's always good to put names with faces. And as Paul stated, sometimes you won't like the decisions that we make. It is difficult to sit here and make decisions, but we try to do it the best we can. Reading the materials, watching meetings, and we try our best to make the best decisions. You will not always agree with us. If you want to find out what it's like, run. You got a couple of years before another election. He said no. No, some of y'all wouldn't want to be in this seat. It's tough. It's difficult. But I hope that we are not hope. I know that we're making the best decisions based on the information that we have. So thank you all. And I've said this a million times since the day I came in, since I was appointed, and of course then elected, that I love the passion. We all love this town, right? I was born and raised here. I love this town, absolutely love it. And I'm gonna try to do the best I can for the citizens. And I also wanted to say Merry Christmas to everyone. I hope everyone has a safe holiday.
Well, I'd like to thank the town and all the people that voted for me, and most importantly, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for calling me to this position to serve. I think it's going to be a great opportunity to allow the town's voice to be heard here from the voting pedestal, and just overwhelmed that I even got elected. So I look forward to it, and I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
Probably the most stressful meeting we've had in a long time. I did not eat one jelly bean.
What?
Those that know that means my stomach was in knots. All right, so glad it's over. Everybody's gone, most everybody's gone, but I'm glad it's over. But on to the town stuff here. The decorations, just like you said, Greenway looks great. The decorations look great. Staff has done a great job at not only putting those decorations out, but just maintaining our public spaces. Right? The Greenway, rain, snow, sleet, doesn't matter. It looks great. It's trimmed. It's cut. The grass is green. I'm very proud. Right? And every day I drive up and down Main Street. Right? Our park looks phenomenal. We have some wonderful events that have taken place already. And as you saw on the agenda, we did the Parks and Rec. We didn't do that? That wasn't in consent? The calendar.
For their normal events, yes.
Yes. So that's the thing. That has now been published. So if you want to get a jump on planning, right, for the town events that we have. I cannot wait for Party in the Park. It's my favorite event every year. Get there early or you're not going to get any food. Again, it's a great time of year, great time to spend with family. I'm glad all the contentiousness is over. So just like current Mayor Pro Tem said, right, you know, we can still shake hands, right? We still live amongst one another. We're still neighbors. We're still friends. We're still family, right? And this is a perfect time of year to remember that, right? I'd like, if they're even watching, I'd like to welcome my in-laws are in town, right? So I've got a full house. And then so it's that thing. It's just, I love Christmas time, love New Year's. And just like everyone else said, I wish you and yours a Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday season, and we'll see you in 2024. Thank you.
I'll wrap it up by saying thank you to everybody for coming out, you know, pro or against something. You let us know what you felt, and then we had to, it's been stated here time and again, we had to make the difficult decisions. And, you know, we're, you know, some are going to be unhappy, some are going to be happy. And all we can do is do our best and, you know, hope that everybody understands that, you know, we can't be everything to everybody. I appreciate the council allowing me to be the mayor pro tem since 2016. As I said, years before that, my first stint with the council. And so I've been in it a long time. Jerry will do a wonderful job. He's a good man, and he has learned a lot in the past 2 years, and I know he will step in, and I will be in his shadow in a very short time, I'm sure. And I wish him well, and anything he needs, I will be there to help him with.
Thank you.
As always.
I
And
need
that
that.
goes for any and everybody on this council. And when I said a while ago, I appreciate this council, they are wonderful. I've been on with, I have served on many councils with many different people, and this one's at the top. And I love each and every one of you. You know, if you call me and ask for something and I'm able to help you, I'll be there to do it. And I continue to feel that way, and I will up until my last day on this council, whether it's voluntary or involuntary. You know, in a way of passing on or something is what I meant. But at any rate, it is what it is. But again, in all seriousness, thank you each and every one of you for being there and supporting me. And it's now my turn to support you, and I will definitely do it, each and every one of you. So thank you very much.
Can I, may I first, I would like to thank you, all right, for past 2 years, all right. I've leaned on everybody, even some of the members that aren't here, including our mayor, right. And I just hope you know I'm going to continue to lean on you, right. So if you're not happy with the job I do as mayor pro tem, just remember I'm doing what he tells me to do, right. But also, I forgot and I apologize. I would like to formally welcome Nick Jarozinski to the town council. You ran a great campaign. You do have some big shoes to fill, big chair to fill down there. George did a great job for us and for our community, but I know I've known you for several years now, Nick, and I know what's in your heart, right? And I know you're going to do what's best for Troutman. So I'd like to formally welcome you and congratulations.
Thank you. Sir?
The first thing, and going back to what Councilman Oxer said, did we get the rec calendar approved? Yes and no. We got the one that was presented, but if you all will recall, Monday we spoke about fireworks, and July 3rd was the proposed date from the chief and Parks and Rec director as the night before as to being the time they would suggest, instead of trying to double stack everything being on the Saturday before when the actual parade is. Part of that funding, just so you all know before you make the decision, it's a different company doing the fireworks than has done them in previous years, but it is a more local company, similar price. I cannot tell you here, I'm sorry, I don't have all my paperwork, that if it's going to be 12 or 14, but it's in that price range. But they do all their permitting and all the things that are required, instead of putting that burden on staff, which is still similar price to do so. They are in Catawba County, so it's someone that's somewhat local instead of out of state. I think that also matters. And as far as my position, I echo what the chief and the Parks and Rec director said. If it is done then the night before, on July 3rd, is when I would recommend. And that is if these nonprofit groups that have already said they would like to speak with the county through the town assisting, how we do that as far as making sure the facility is secured. And then they host all the parking and all that. It has always been a danged if you do, danged if you don't, as far as some neighbors, some people, military veterans, post-stress traumatic disorder, animals that don't like it. But then you all recall the flare that we got this past year when we didn't have it. And that's your choice to make, but we certainly are offering, if you all do, as there is nonprofit groups now, to take part of that burden off of the town employees' plate. And I want to reiterate for all those that are sitting here and or watching on TV, most of these events are put on by nonprofit groups. Towns do actually pay for fireworks in some cases, but very seldom is it the town staff doing the parades and or doing the fireworks festival. We have, simply because of necessity, to try to appease some of our citizens. But some are ungrateful, and if they don't get everything else they want, then they start accusatory things like you mentioned earlier. And it's certainly not that, but just like now, there's 3 staff members over here that's working on, right now, almost 15 hours today. I'm just offering that to you to make your decision. If it is fireworks July 3rd, but we do need to give them an answer tomorrow, yes or no.
I have a question.
Yes.
And I apologize, I may have dozed off, I'm just kidding. But I know that a lot of citizens like to make it a day, like the parade and then that night have the fireworks. You mentioned doing it on the 3rd. Why did you say you want to do it on the 3rd? I can't remember what you said.
One, we as a staff cannot do back-to-back days, 18 to 20 some hours with our employees. We simply cannot. I don't think that meets the guidelines as far as the worker laws of being an emergency that requires me to have all the staff here to do it. So if we do the parade on the Saturday, then turn around and do this festival, I do have, the last time we did that, there was 4 employees that in a 2-day period worked over 36 hours in 2 days. That's not fair of staff. But it being through the week and the night before, some towns, it's just like we got complained on for having Christmas decorations up before Halloween.
I saw that.
But other towns had already done their Christmas parade before Halloween. It don't matter what we do, somebody's going to have an issue or a complaint. But the point is, if somebody wants to do the fireworks, the day of or the night before is the most celebrated time.
Can just really help ease the burden. Plus a lot of the setup that would be, I think that's what you described Monday. I think a lot of the setup that would be required for the fireworks and the celebration would actually be during normal business hours.
So the nonprofits won't do, I thought, maybe I just misunderstood what you said. I was thinking that you were saying that the nonprofits and stuff would do all of the fireworks stuff. That's not what you said.
We coordinate and pay for the fireworks. Our staff would assist because these
would
volunteers have never done it before. We would assist. It would just not be mandatory that every town employee work.
Okay, I think I just misunderstood what you were saying. I was thinking that we didn't have anything to do with it, and we would just do the parade, and they did all the rest of it.
We're just actually going to have some help.
Help.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that fair to?
Yes.
Are we gonna have to make donations to the nonprofits?
No. No. And if it
They'll
is
take
done,
care of, I guess,
if it's
food
done the way it
trucks.
is in other areas, they may even make a little money that they can help donate back to our celebration of independence.
So they'll take care of the food trucks and parking and basically everything?
Well, I can't guarantee that, but that is the plan.
Because that's one of the reasons that we got out of the firework business, was our staff was too overworked. To be perfectly honest with you, and it wasn't fair to our staff.
That and depending on when July 4th is, some of the comments was, well, we pay you to work. Okay. But while everybody else is having a holiday, not only did we work the full 40 to 55 hours a week that some of our salaried employees have averaged working, then you add an additional 20-some hours on top of that normal workload.
I'm aware that's why we kind of
Right, right.
got out of that business.
Yes, sir.
So you need an answer tonight.
If you want the fireworks, we already told them no on Saturday before. If
Yeah.
you want the fireworks for July 3rd, tomorrow we have to give them an answer. It's a go or it's not.
Do you know when we may have any official word from any of the nonprofits? I know that
I
probably
know-
didn't jive with this.
I know at least 2 of them are planning. And just like you all have heard me talk about Emily's recipe book, I mean, the recipe's there.
Mhm.
It's just a matter of getting the volunteer groups to decide which part they're handling, et cetera, et cetera.
Manager, if the volunteers fall through, the nonprofits fall through, and July 3rd night, it falls back on town staff, would they still be able to put on the fireworks show if we said, let's do it that way, you know?
We would be better equipped to adjust schedules to do it this way versus the parade and
Right.
this both within a
Right,
well, within an 8-hour period, but yes.
So whichever is.
We would be better
win-win.
prepared to handle that
Okay.
and adjust schedules to where they can come in and work and do that, yes, sir.
So July 3rd and 4th on a Wednesday and Thursday.
Yes.
Any more questions, for the manager, or questions in general? Well, I'm gonna go ahead and ask for a motion then on, how we'd like to proceed based on what we have just heard from our town manager.
How do we word it? Make a motion that we, let's see, what do you need? Authorize the town manager, right, to green light fireworks on July 3rd. Is there anything else I need in that motion? Anything else you would like in that motion, town manager?
What about the 4th of July parade? The parade would be on the previous Saturday?
The parade, I think, is a separate.
You don't wanna put it
I
together?
think this is only about fireworks.
Is this only about fireworks, or you
Yeah.
want it together? Parade and, you know.
No, we definitely want
Parade on a
separate.
certain day.
We don't
and-
want them together.
Well, when I say together, I mean, the motion is together, and that the parade would be on a Saturday, and the fireworks would be the following July 3rd.
I don't think
The
that.
parade's already been approved.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with this part.
All right, so it's just strictly, okay.
Yes, sir.
We've got a first and second. Any more discussion before we take a vote? All right, those all in favor of the motion to have the fireworks July 3rd and allow the town manager into the contract for July 3rd, whether or not the profits come, well, I guess we'll need to put that in the motion. But July 3rd, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? All right, motion's carried, sir.
Thank you. And as we have had more up here working over than not, and we'll have to be back at 7 in the morning, I'm going to forego the different department directors' reports unless you all have heartburn.
The only thing
Yeah.
only thing I would like to say is, based on the report we received, what feels like 6 hours ago, great job, Mr. Mundy, Financial Director. It was a spotless report. So thank you for that. Thank you for you and your team and all the staff for handling that for us. So thank you.
I will close shortly by saying, similar to what Councilman Ocher said earlier, some of the folks, one in particular here tonight, I take offense at their actions and the way they have spoke about us, and it does have consequences, as I forewarned them. One of the things that has happened is several people come in tonight wanting different things put into our computer program, and I just want to explain to everybody, we have a policy here when it comes to our IT. We are not criminals in trying to prohibit somebody's free right to speech when we tell them you can't hook things into our computer. That's to keep us safe so that we don't have viruses. We have a contract with Corvid Industries that tells us, don't do that. Don't take flash drives from somebody else. Send them to us, let us do that. That was explained to several parties that had reached out within the last week asking if they could or should, and some were told print off pictures and bring them, depending on who called. Some were told flash drives, that way we had plenty enough time, but we can't do it within the last few hours. And it's not anything personal toward anyone here. It's just, if you have towns that are getting hijacked for millions of dollars because somebody allowed a virus into a system, there's not one of you here that I think has any intentions on hijacking our town. That's not what it's intended. But we don't know who you email, we don't know who's in your computers, so the couple persons that may be offended that we don't allow external things into our computer system and our network, please understand that's why it is. It's not with malice toward that individual, or we're not accusing them of trying to hijack us, but again, we can't speak for the integrity of their system. That's why spyware and everything is so relevant and rampant. And all I will say to that is actions have consequences. As you all appropriately pointed out, I sympathize with everything every individual here had to say tonight as far as what they thought their quality of life was, is, or should be, and we deal with it every day. The difference is we have to follow the statutes in the state of North Carolina to do our jobs. I do not appreciate being called a crook and a criminal just because I'm not doing something that you want me to do when you want me to do it. And those things will have actions, just like the decisions tonight. As I have explained to council before, we have a strong box of what we can and can't approve, and unless we can prove why a project is denied, there's usually legal action that follows. So when the legal action comes here, this issue is not dead. It's dead tonight as far as you all voting on it, but I have no idea how long it will take us. But based off of what has happened in our neighboring towns, I absolutely foresee us being served that we violated rights and we violated our own policy. And that's what we'll just have to deal with when it comes. But that will be an expense to taxpayers. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. All right, I have, anyone want to make a motion for us to adjourn?
Make a motion.
That's your
Yes,
job.
Yeah, that's your job.
All right, we have first and second to adjourn. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned.
We just found out. The Harrisons used to do